Well, good day, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of WTF Walk the Floors. I'm co host Stephanie Ledger with First Rate Hospitality, and I have my other co host, Michelle Klein. How are you?
Hi, Stephanie. Hi, everyone. This is Michelle Klein with Klein Hospitality. I am so happy to be here today.
Perfect. Well, what are we going to be talking about today, Michelle?
So, we have been for months sharing WTF, walk the floors type of moments, mouth opening moments that make us cringe. But here's the thing, I would love to highlight today what are those things or special skill sets that we learn as we power through our industry that not every industry has. It's not things that in every industry you would learn or take with you, and how important it is to highlight those beautiful things that we learn, or we're put in special circumstances when we are in hospitality that makes us a stronger, better team member.
Absolutely. Great. Well, this is going to be a fun episode.
This
The
will
heart
be a
of
fun.
hospitality.
The heart of hospitality, absolutely. So here's some of my thoughts, right? We do know that hospitality overall, regardless of what department you're in, will teach you some very useful practices, right? Either you're learning how to make an impeccable bed, or you are learning how to clean specific areas, or you learn how silverware should be polished, or how china should be placed, or even how to open a door and greet someone. So those are useful practices. But
Absolutely.
there's these other skill sets that I feel like hospitality teaches you beyond the way any other industry teaches you. Like, for example, when we are in hospitality, we are forced to work with multiple generations
Mm-hmm.
and people from various backgrounds at the same time under the same roof. So that technically and ultimately will lead to amazing teamwork, right?
Yes.
You're either going to survive the generational differences and survive the various backgrounds, or you're not. So if you're still around in hospitality, you become an outstanding team member, right? And it exposes you to the world, not
Mm-hmm.
only from the sense of dealing with different backgrounds and dealing with different generations, but also the guests that we deal with come from all over.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about
Absolutely.
that?
Yes, for sure. Definitely with the different backgrounds, culture backgrounds. Also, too, with the generation, you have some people that have been in hospitality for over 20, 30 years. But then you have also, too, older generations that are going back into the workforce, and that they haven't worked for maybe the last 10 years. They were enjoying retirement, but now they want to come back. And and then also too, they're very new to a hotel or a restaurant as well. Maybe they came from the banking side, and this just happened, a position that's open for them, that the hours work out, the location and all of that. And so you learn also too with the different experiences where everyone has come from too.
Yeah, absolutely. And anyone who's ever heard my talk, I have a presentation about generations at work and how to deal with that. One of the tips that I always discuss is how do we adapt the technology that we use or the processes we use to every generation, because now you
Mhm.
have, like you're saying, people who've been around for 30 years or longer who are not going to have such an easy time transitioning into digital boards in housekeeping, for example, right? So being creative in that way, I think it's truly important. So far we have useful practices and teamwork. The next one
Yeah.
for me has to do with working under pressure, right? So we are always working under pressure, whether it is from a time perspective or uh, the fact that we most of the time deal with lower budgets, or that we
Mm-hmm.
have to adjust our budgets, or we are driven by productivity metrics, or we have to adjust to some issues with the supply chain, like we've seen in the last year and a half or so. So I feel like all those things make us become more efficient.
Yes, absolutely. And then along those lines, I was going to say also to patience is that you may think that you don't have patience, but when you start working in the hospitality, that patience and working under pressure as well starts to be enlivened as well from the guest point of view. You know, you're a server, and then the guest is saying, "Oh, you know, can I have some ketchup for my or more ketchup for my fries?" And then you come back with the ketchup, and then they're like, "Oh, can I also to have a more iced tea?" And you're like, "Why can't you just tell me all of this all at the same time and having me keep going back and forth?" Although you, of course, you should be able to anticipate the
I
guest
was going to say
needs
that. Yeah.
and have it already there. But yes, definitely those times I could remember where I was just like, "Really? You couldn't tell me this all at the same time?" Or the guest is complaining and it's something that's not even your fault at all, but they're taking it out on you of their frustration. And you have to, you know, instead of like hawking back at them and being like, "Oh, absolutely, I'm so sorry that you're frustrated about that," and just, you know, having all of that strength just to have that patience instead of like wanting to strangle the guest.
Absolutely. So we have useful practices, teamwork, patience, and efficiency. Another one that I think is very critical to our industry is the fact that we always work shorthanded.
Hmm.
Some way, one way or another, again, because we try to be so efficient and cut everything to the minute, we are very exposed to being shorthanded if someone
Hmm.
calls in and we don't have a replacement. So I think that what working shorthanded gives us from a skill or a character perspective is learning how to be collaborative and how to be empathetic.
Hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Like department with department. If you work in, I don't know, maybe you're in the front office and you know that housekeeping is extremely short-handed, how can you collaborate with them? Is
Hmm.
there a way that you can potentially um, listen in and lean in and understand that, well, this is what's going on. What is it that I can do to make your day better or to try to deal with our guests in a different way so that the short handed issue in your department is seamless and you know the wheels keep turning.
Yeah,
So what do you think about that
absolutely.
empathy and collaboration?
Oh, yes. And I think we talk so much about showing that empathy to guests that we need to also to showing that empathy to one another in our departments in like our own department, but also too for the other departments when you're having those morning meetings and all the departments are going around of, "Okay, I had, you know, two call offs today," or the supply issues, so we didn't get any linen, as much linen as we thought we were going to get back. And then it's like, you know, housekeeping and front desk being able to work together and saying, "Okay, well, let me now already book all of our arrivals so we know what rooms we need to get into with the linen, or what rooms need to be done first to making sure that they're ready for the guests that are arriving," and vice versa. You know, also too, if front desk is shorthanded, if housekeeping, you know, saying, "What can we do to making sure that we're getting these rooms ready for you so we're not having long waits at the front desk as well." And so making sure that we're really showing that empathy, not just towards our guests, but also to with one another internally.
Absolutely. And then I believe that the collaboration and the empathy piece also should be cross properties,
Yes.
right? So you have sister properties in the area or nearby, and all of a sudden the laundry truck will deliver X amount to yours, but not so many to the other properties. Like, how do you balance that out? How do you work with each other to make sure that everyone is hitting their mark as opposed to someone falling short because you're looking inwards and making sure that your property is the one that is being successful, but making sure that the properties across the enterprise, at least within the same marketplace, that they all have what they need, right?
Yeah.
And if you have perhaps um, someone in a specific department that, let's say, it's overnight shift, and you have two team members on the engineering department, maybe you can spare one and send it to another property, a sister property, so in the event that there's an emergency, they can be there troubleshooting whatever that looks like, as opposed to them calling after the emergency happened and now you're dispatching this person. So there are so many ways where we can collaborate within properties and between properties as well.
Oh yes, I remember so many times of doing rollaway beds in the middle of New York City. One property would be needing them more because another property, had more business clientele, and then vice versa. Next week it would change up, and now the world would be like in the middle of New York City moving rollaway
Or
beds.
there goes the rollaways again.
Yeah.
Look out the window, kids.
Yeah. Oh, definitely a sight. But yes, using your sister cities as well to collaborate and oh, what are you guys doing? Are you noticing this as well from like the guest behaviors or the guest requests or things that are changing, always evolving and utilizing also to your resources with one another?
Absolutely. So the last item that I have on my list for today's topic has to do with multitasking.
I was going to say that.
I cannot think of one hotelier or one person in food and beverage or one person in any department that provides services that cannot multitask. If you
Yeah.
can't multitask, you will not survive.
Yeah.
So, how do we teach more of that multitasking to our team members and the importance of explaining to them how this is so crucial?
Yes, in an efficient way. Because there's a lot of times that employees will multitask, but they're doing extra steps that's causing more work for them instead of, cutting corners to getting towards the end of what the task that needs to be done. But they're, running around in circles and, all goes to that training as well of what is a proper way to multitask.
Absolutely. My favorite has to be in food and beverage, the rule, the no empty hands rule, right?
Yes.
You just said it. You come in, oh, may I please have some honey? Oh, sure. You go back to the kitchen. Why don't you ask before you exit that table if there is anything else I could get for you? Anticipate the need. Look at how empty or how full the glasses on the table look. And also, as you're walking back to the kitchen, make sure that you stop by your other tables in your section to see if there's anything else that you can bring back with you. That is multitasking.
Yep, yep. And then also too, even full hands in, full hands out. So you're going in with something, whether it be an empty glass or a plate that you're moving from the table, and then you're coming out of the kitchen with something in your hand as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is great. Do you have any last thoughts, Stephanie, or anything else on your list?
I would also too of just saying as well as communication, people communication. So, of how telephone etiquette, email etiquette, and how to being able to talk to one another appropriately, as well in hospitality. Really, those are skills that I've learned throughout the years of being able to communicate to all different types of people as well.
This is lovely. So let's review. The main skills that we believe are those amazing things that we learn, the WTF, walk the floors, positive moments that we practice is communication,
Mm-hmm.
multitasking, learning how to be empathetic and to collaborate, teamwork,
Yes.
working or learning useful practices,
Yes.
working under pressure. I love it. It's a great
Yeah.
list.
And the generations as well. What we're, what we first were talking about too is everyone has different personalities and, different backgrounds and different age. And so that's also too, all skills that you start learning as well being in hospitality.
Absolutely. Great episode. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for sharing your thoughts.
Yes. Can't wait to do it all again for another episode.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the other side, everyone. I will see you next time.